Jayne! Cats.
Yeah, that's the downside. We've got 3 of them.
Nice. What a beautiful cat.
Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting it raw.
When I got into newspapers, that's when the passion really developed for photography. And I can't say that it was singularly the photography so much as the whole situation. So, you know, it became so exciting to be involved in frontline news. And so the satisfaction of being involved in that, having inside information on what was going on, seeing your picture then in the paper the next day, that became a real driving force.
Real rush.
It's really, yeah. It's something, and something that you never get over. If you've got that, you never get over it.
Oh,
you
wow.
always have it for life.
Jayne, Russell, thank you for inviting me into your home. I love seeing how people live, and also a photographer's home is always a little interesting.
There's always a messy room. There's always something. Where's all the camera gear?
I love that, you know, you thankfully agreed to do the self-portrait by the massive. Is this a cupboard, or is this basically?
Yeah, it's a. I remember when I bought it. It was just. It's a beautiful Baltic pine antique cupboard. And I walked into the store and I thought, I've got to have that. And I was living in a Victorian house in London. And I was walking out the door mumbling to myself saying, I'd have that, except there's no way it'd fit into my house. And the woman overheard me and she said, no, it all comes apart.
Nice.
So it's all in bits. So it's a massive cupboard that's been everywhere with us, because you can take it apart and then put it back together and then put everything in it.
And so for the people listening, okay, we're sitting in your dining room. It's a lot of wood. So it's wood floors, wood table, wood benches, wood shoe cabinets, wood. And then you have this massive piece. It looks like there's a cello sitting at the top.
It's
a double bass. Okay, sitting at the top, like just kind of prop. This is just to give you a sense of how massive it is.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, oh, do you want to see my camera gear?
Yeah.
I'm like, sure. And then the doors open. And it's basically like doors to Narnia. It's just like you open it and then it's just like,
it is.
Look at all this stuff.
I have tried to label and organize and everything because, you know,
there's too much.
You think, oh, I need that particular piece. You've got to go in and get it. Otherwise, you know, you've got a massive storage problem, haven't you? I mean, it's nice when you've got a studio.
You are
but
amazing.
For my type of job, we don't have a studio.
Yeah.
But, you know, to have a studio where you've got nice shelves and everything's in boxes and everything's a dream. But,
right.
But here it's all hanging and got tags on it and everything.
It's amazing.
But yeah, you need to be able to put your hand in there and find exactly what you want in a short space of time.
Okay, so from your accent, I would say you're from Peru. Right?
Yes. Yeah, clearly. Yeah, so I'm from Sydney.
Australia,
Australia.
okay. Sydney, okay. Sydney, Australia.
But I left a long time ago.
Right.
I left in 1992.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, but I think there's a lot of Australians in Hong Kong,
Sure.
and I think I got my accent back because I went from Australia to London. I was working in London for nearly 20 years.
As a photojournalist. Wow.
And in fact, yeah, I mean, that's all I ever did. So I worked for newspapers in Australia, went to England to work at Fleet Street to go to the best of the best.
Right.
But when you're working for those newspapers, you're doing all sorts of things. So you're doing fashion, you're doing on location.
Yeah.
You know, the practices that you've got are really, really useful. Because when I came here, it became pretty evident that there was a very small pool of photojournalists working in Hong Kong.
Right. Okay, so this is the perfect, I mean, you've done this before. You know what you're doing. You've been around news and storytelling and all this stuff. So you have given me the absolute perfect segue into the first image. The image is, the floor has like this emerald green carpeting of sorts. And then there's a sofa, and then there's a kind of a bench, and then there's a very kind of old dish in a British style lamp. Again, tastefully green, white color. On the wall is gold framed. The walls are white. There's a fireplace, which actually seems to have a real fire going in it. And there's this beautiful kind of metallic, could be gold plated something, clock with a large mirror. And dead center in the image, in perfect, exquisite composition, is a rather elderly woman, kind of looking askance at a well-dressed man who's got his hands behind his back. He's wearing not a three-piece suit, but, he's wearing a nice suit. These people, I think, are famous. The woman's wearing a kind of a very stodgy, she's older, so she's wearing a grandma skirt with a sort of grandma cardigan and a nice shirt. She looks very elegant. Nice shock of gray hair. But she's looking at him like, hey, what are you going on about? These two people, who are they and what was the situation?
Right, this is not a normal living room.
Okay.
This is the garden room that overlooks the Queen Victoria's gardens in Balmoral in Scotland. Oh. So that is the Queen in the middle, Queen Elizabeth. Mm-hmm. And she's meeting with the then Premier of Victoria. From Australia, Victoria, Australia.
Ah, okay.
She goes up to Balmoral for several months a year, and no business is ever conducted at Balmoral. Mm-hmm. It is a family home, hence she's looking really relaxed.
Right.
She never invites dignitaries. She never does any business. She will come back down to London if she needs to do anything. That is a totally private home. But that year, in the year preceding, there was massive bushfires in Victoria that had a horrendous death toll. Yeah. And she just out of the blue summoned the Premier of Victoria to find out what had happened in the last year. And so he was invited up to Balmoral just to have a private meeting with her, which is just extremely unusual. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so the situation was also unusual for us. If you, with the royals, when you're working in newspapers in England, you're on a rota system, and you all take it in turns. So when they need a videographer or a photographer, they don't have all the press in there. They just have a rota, and they'll have one photographer and one video person coming to the...
No pressure.
No pressure. And then you give it away to free to everybody else that wants it. You can't pick and choose your jobs. Yeah. So if you refuse a job, then you're dropped from the next good job. So as a group of newspapers, you have to do all of them. You have to do all the minor ones and the major ones. So you might get a good one. You might also get a really minor royal doing something very minor. But this was out of the system because they only allowed Australian media in.
Oh, okay.
So we did one photographer and one camera video person. Wow. When you go and meet the Queen, when you deal with the Queen in Buckingham Palace in London, everyone has to be in place in the room before she arrives. Right. So you're waiting. Yeah. This was the odd one. Okay. We came in and she's standing by the window overlooking the gardens that Queen Victoria planted.
Like a normal human being.
Like a normal human being with a couple of corgis round her feet. It was just it was a stereotype in a way.
Nice.
And she's so relaxed. She's in her country kind of attire. Yeah. And then she just started speaking to everyone as though completely normal. There was a one aide that obviously had in their mind that you had to be in and out. You had to be finished in a short amount of time because they were just doing this photo opportunity. But the Premier had turned up with this special piece of tartan specially Victorian tartan that he'd wanted to present to her. And so I had to say, and the assistant saying, time to go. I'm going, we can't, because the point was that he talk about the bushfires, and he's got a beautiful book of all these, before and after pictures of things that had happened in the bushfire. So that's what I need. So that's why it's slightly side on, because we're being slightly moved out the door, and I'm going, no, we can't go. Ah, okay. So they did stop, but I like that because it's a bit more relaxed than the one with the book. The Queen's then looking into the book and you can't see her as much.
Right.
But it was an unusual experience, like a very unique experience.
Right.
I mean, of a lot of the guys that work in Fleet Street, there'd be very few that would ever have gone through those front doors.
Right. Podcast recording is an exercise in chaos theory because as we're speaking, you have your 3 beautiful cats who are kind of hopping around on the tables, on the benches. We can sort of hear them, so that's going
to... Random noises of them jumping on
It's great because they're looking around going like, well, I don't care. This is my place. And as I can hear the Hong Kong's national bird in the background. The drilling.
Yeah. I thought you were actually meaning the koel.
No.
We've got a beautiful koel.
Oh, nice.
I don't know if that's the way you pronounce it correctly. And he starts calling out at 5:05 in the morning.
Yeah, no, the best.
And he sits right in the middle of a tree in the middle of the buildings, and it just echoes everywhere.
Have you read Haruki Murakami?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so the Wind-Up Bird Chronicle. I don't know if that's the bird that he is actually referencing. But my wife and I, when we hear that bird, to us, it's a wind-up bird because you're going to think he's going to go higher and higher until his head is going to explode.
It definitely sounds like that because it does. It goes higher, 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 higher till it stops.
Yeah, it's amazing. So to the listener, I'm very sorry if the drilling is seeping in. Terribly disrespectful. We're talking about the Queen. Are we not? Yeah, it's gotta be unreal, surreal that you're sent on these jobs as part of your job, and you're a witness, and you got the camera, and you're put in these positions that, as somebody, for example, my client is a very well-respected, super sought-out, kind of famous person in Hong Kong as a business leader. He's done incredible things. So he's got these accomplishments, and because I'm working with him, I get invited to these meetings with very high, like billionaires and all this stuff. And it's kind of surreal. I'm just okay.
And you're sitting back going, is this real?
Yeah.
I'm really here in this front room with the Queen.
Yeah, great.
And she really talks to you.
Right.
Like that was the thing. Actually speaking to the Queen, it was like, whoa.
Because in your brain is kind of dealing with the fact that you've got this physical human being in front of you, and then you're also filtering it through the lens of the history of I made fun in terms of how I set it up, but clearly I knew that was a Queen, and
yes.
Okay, let's go to the next photo. So, is life really a gift? Really? Can you make every second count? That's the whole point of the podcast. So if you like what you've seen and you're inspired, because that really is my mission, then please give it a like, subscribe, and share.
Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting